March Madness is here. It's the best time of year. We got the boys with us. Hayden, the in-house March Madness expert.
Dude, you're too kind.
How long do you stay up last night doing your March Madness homework?
Dude, I was up till probably 12 or 1. I also had some other schoolwork, but,
Okay. All right. And Ty, we got you here. What can you tell us about your March Madness experience?
Well, I haven't been here for the last 2 years, so I have no idea what's going on, but I got BYU going far.
I don't know much about the subject either, so I had to bring the fellas in. Hayden, got to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for us today.
dude, I'll see what I can do.
What kind of homework were you doing last night?
It was for a religion assignment.
No, like March Madness. I don't care.
I don't
March care about your homework.
I was like, dude, my religion assignment.
For
March
nice.
Madness, NCAA March Madness Live.com. It allows me to put in metrics, and then I can kind of see the metrics that are most important to me, which are 3-point percentage, ones that are least important,
such as
effective field goal percentage, overall second chance points. I don't think those ones are as important as 3-point percentage, field goal percentage, fast breaks, meaning they get pressures and out front.
So where did your homework lead you? What's your Final Four looking like? Let's start there.
Okay, well,
big four.
After some careful thought, consideration, prayer, all and above. You got UConn against Arizona.
Okay, UConn.
So Arizona's going to be playing hometown. And then we got
that game. Yeah, it's in Arizona this year.
You got Houston versus Creighton.
Creighton going to the Final Four.
I think Kalkbrenner, he's gonna be balling out. And Baylor Shireman.
He had a good season.
And you got Ashworth from the Utah State transfer. He's a good player.
Okay. Yeah, this is solid. Over the likes of Purdue, Kansas, Tennessee.
Tennessee has, they're a good team, but they've also had some setbacks. Even before the conference play, they've had a few setbacks. And so they just never.
What team hasn't this year?
That's true, but they just haven't impressed me. The games I've watched, I saw Dalton Connect go off for 30, 35 or whatever against Kentucky, and they still lost. And now Kentucky's a good team.
Yes.
But they still lost, and he went off. And so
you were worried about the surrounding cast?
Yep.
Okay. And you just think the role players of Creighton are going to outmatch and overpower Tennessee?
Well, Creighton's a big team.
They are big.
So Creighton has the number 1 effective field goal percentage in the tournament this year. So
is that right?
Yeah.
Hayden doesn't value effective field goal percentage.
Really?
And I don't even know why, really.
Okay.
Well,
that's fun.
Kentucky's second and Samford's third after that.
Samford. Yeah. Up there.
Samford's pretty high on a lot of these things. Their number in the tournament, Samford is second in bench points per game, which I think is huge, because especially in games if, for example, BYU struggles a lot. That's the only team I watch, so I'm going to be bringing them up. BYU struggles if their bench is not pulling through, and if you have a good bench that can score 34 points a game, then you're going to win some games in the tournament.
No, absolutely. And I noticed, I took a brief look over your bracket before we started. You had Samford winning some games.
I got Samford going pretty far.
How far?
Let's see.
Elite 8? Sweet 16?
That's because you're a homer.
Sweet 16.
Cheering for Rylan Jones.
I love Rylan Jones. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great facilitator too. So when you have as many guys as you have, I haven't watched them a ton.
Sure.
But if they're number 2 on bench points right now, if they have all these players that can put the ball in the hole, Rylan Jones is one of the better facilitators, I think.
But I have to disagree. I have to disagree with bench points.
Why?
Because you just got to win 2 games and you advance. You just got to win 2 games. Just put it all out there on the first 2 games. Yeah. Play your starters. Don't play your bench. Why would you play your bench?
Well, if your starters aren't playing good, if they're struggling, which happens.
Now you do want your bench to come in and make a spark. But I mean,
34 points per game spark is pretty good, I'd say.
I don't know, dude. I just think you play your starters. All the other teams, their starters are going to be way better than Samford's starters. Their starters are going to be more consistent.
They match up against Kansas, who has probably the worst bench in the country.
True.
You have number 4 Kansas losing to Samford. You then have Samford going on to beat Gonzaga at the 5, and No, falling to TCU at 9, which means TCU beat Purdue.
Yeah, I'm not too high on Purdue. Not gonna lie, I think they're overrated.
When I was first filling out, I had Purdue going all the way.
Purdue-
Because do you remember what happened the last time a 1 seed lost in the first round, and then the very next year they came back and won it all. Virginia. When they lost to UMBC, the next year they won it. They improved their 3-point shooting to
They
40.
did.
They're 40%. They have Zach Edey, the
Lawyers.
player of the year,
Shooting the ball like lights out.
because last year they were one of the worst 3-point shooters, and that's what eventually killed them. None of their guards could make a shot in that against FDU. But this year they're 40% from the 3, and they have the player of the year at 7'4",
Crazy. Cheat
in
code.
the center. And so I think it'll be tough. But
It will be tough.
I changed. I got Creighton beat them in the Elite Eight.
Creighton beating them in the Elite Eight. I watch a lot of Big Ten basketball, obviously, right? And he just gets so many calls that I just don't think he's going to get in the tournament. That's what hurt him last season. They fell short because Zach Edey himself got in foul trouble early. Again, they couldn't shoot the ball. They pretty much double-teamed Edey, like he said, and then the guards couldn't make up the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I just think when the pressure is on, that same scenario is going to happen. Zach's not going to get the calls that he usually gets. He's going to get in early foul trouble, and maybe the lights get too bright for Fletcher Lawyer and the crew.
It could be. I think this year they're on a mission though.
Their 2 conference tournament games, one against my Spartans, we almost beat them, and I think if it weren't for the refs, we would have beat them. And then Wisconsin almost had the same problem. Wisconsin had the same issues that Michigan State had against in the fourth quarter against the refs, yet they still made enough shots to overcome that and beat Purdue. That's why I'm not confident in Purdue. Why do you have Creighton beating Purdue? The bigs just match up well with Zach
I
Edey?
think the bigs can handle Zach Edey.
So Houston, the number 1 seed, all the way to the Final Four and into the championship game, but they fall short to the mighty Huskies.
Yep. Ultimately,
Back to back.
Ultimately, just because at the end of the day, you got to be able to put the ball in the hoop, and Houston can do that, but not as consistently as UConn. And I think UConn's got enough defense.
I think you have to look at like the teams that are on fire too. You can't. I mean, the
Absolutely.
teams that have
I agree.
all won their conference championships. I mean, sometimes you can't just look at the record. Sometimes it's like, all right, yeah, these guys are winning games lately. So
I mean, basketball is a hot and cold game, right?
yeah,
Super streaky.
the game of runs.
And if you are knocking your shots down, I mean, it's contagious. It carries over to the rest of the team. It carries over
to defense.
yeah, exactly. Momentum is huge, and no bigger in any other sport than basketball. And so I agree. I think being able to go on a run late in the season, carry that into the March Madness tournament, I think it goes a long way. With that being said, who that's going on a run? Who are the conference champions? Are you keeping your eye on?
Well, like Sanford, like I said, also NC State. I'd watch out for them. I think they
They're
just
hot.
Great run through the ACC.
yeah. That's a pretty tough conference. It's a good conference. So coming out on top of that, that's gonna be. I think they could go on a run. They will have to get through. Who is it?
Texas
New
Tech.
Mexico. Texas Tech
Texas
first.
Tech.
That's
That'll be a
right.
tough first round.
That is a tough first round, but they're hot, and Texas Tech is streaky. So we'll see.
Dude, I'm a fan of McNeese State. I think they've got a pretty good path to the Sweet 16 if they're able to take care of business against Kansas.
I don't think anybody has ever said that ever before in their lives.
Dude, I'm just saying McNeese looks good. And Gonzaga, they
Tough year.
struggled in the
Tough year.
first part. Like, we didn't even know if they were going to make the tournament. But then good thing they scheduled a game against Kentucky that helped them. They were able to take care of business there. And then they were able to, finish out the rest of the WCC play undefeated until the conference championship, where they ultimately lost to a tough St. Mary's team who's also struggled too. And so for that reason, I think it'll be really hard for Gonzaga. It'll be a tough game for Gonzaga.
So, okay, McNeese beating Gonzaga, but falling to Kansas.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Okay, so talking about McNeese, talking about Sanford, who are some of the upsets? Because we've talked a little bit about your Final Four. We haven't quite got to yours yet, Ty. But that's just one part of the bracket, right? That's the part that everybody knows. Give me some of the insights on some upsets that we should be picking.
Definitely Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's tough. They've only lost 3 games on the season.
It's true.
St. Mary's, like I said, they're struggling too. So they struggled at the beginning of the year. I think that's a perfect game for Grand Canyon to come in, make a statement, move on to the next round. I've got them in my Sweet 16 beating Alabama.
Beating Alabama.
So I think they get hot. I think they're
like
I
the
think
matchup
they
there,
are
or just
hot, and I think they stay hot.
Oregon.
You have
Yeah.
Oregon. Like you said, a
Just
hot team
beat-
right now.
Yeah, I was just looking. They beat Colorado, or they had to beat Colorado, Arizona. I had some good teams.
Yeah. No,
So they're
both in the tournament.
They're hot right now, and Oregon's always has had good recruits. So
True.
I feel
A ton
like
of
maybe
athletes.
for them it was just a matter of when the team could pull it together, and I think they are right now. So I have them winning it. Their first I have them
Against
going
South
pretty
Carolina?
far actually. Yeah,
And beating Creighton. You haven't beaten
Sweet
Creighton.
16. Yeah,
Okay.
I do have them beating Creighton.
Look at that.
Oregon's a funny team because they weren't going to make the tournament until they won
Yeah,
their
they
conference
shouldn't have.
championship. But they were injured throughout most of the year.
Oh,
But now they got healthy at the right time, able to make it.
That being said, you still have them losing to South Carolina.
Mhm.
You a big fan of South Carolina, or
Dude,
what's
SEC
the feel there?
SEC basketball is tough.
Okay.
Like, physicality is crazy
Yeah.
compared to the
Pac-12 was a little weak this year, so that was SEC versus Pac-12 more than Oregon versus South Carolina.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. A team that likes to get upset quite often, the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah.
I got Vermont winning that game. James Madison is another one I think you keep your eye on because they had a really good season this year. They only lost 3 games. They beat Michigan State early in the season. They beat a couple good teams throughout. But what do you think? Vermont, can they beat Duke? Is Duke going to get their feet under them?
I think Duke will win the first game. I actually have them losing to James Madison though in the second round.
Me too.
Yeah.
You
That's what
do
I've
as
got.
well.
I've got-
Okay.
As much as I
dang.
love Duke, they struggle sometimes. So
Any other upsets? Oakland is another one I keep my eye on. I'm forgetting their
Oh,
top
really?
scorers.
14 over 3.
14 over 3.
over Kentucky?
Over Kentucky.
No.
It's Kentucky's
Kentucky's
so
dropping
good
triple
right now.
digits
But
though. Oh, it's so
yeah.
tough.
23 and 11.
Oakland is just one of those teams that's really, really hot right now. I can't even remember the name of their top scorer. They have Rocket Watts there as well, who's just been playing out of his mind. Yeah.
Watts is at Oakland?
Rocket Watts is at Oakland, the Michigan
All right.
State transfer.
Speaking of upsets, I think Michigan State.
Is on
Your
upset.
team?
Okay.
I think I have them going beating Mississippi State,
Thank you.
and I don't have them beating North Carolina, but I think they could.
It's a good game. Blue-
I would never count out Tom Izzo in any game in March Madness ever.
We always had good
So-
battles with Roy Williams. Now it's a new era for
Now
North
you got
Carolina.
Hubert, there you go.
But I hope that little rivalry can return and stay
Yeah.
there as well. We always battle them well. North Carolina usually gets the better of us. So that's why I also picked North Carolina to beat my Spartans. But it's just been a tough year. Tyson Walker is a guy who can light it up, though, for Michigan State. Averaged 20 points again this season. They can shoot the ball really well when they're hot. Again, they just they don't. They're so inconsistent.
And very
And
inconsistent.
their big men are just unreliable at best. So Armando Baycott's going to have his way with take your pick of Carson Cooper,
Yeah.
Matty Sissoko, or Jackson Kohler. I would like to see Xavier Booker get a little bit more reps for Michigan State.
That's
Maybe
a
battle
game I'm
Baycott.
looking forward to.
Should be a good one. I'm excited
They get
about
them
it.
second round should they both win.
Hey, I just want to point out, I keep looking up these stats and like random team stats, and Sanford's working their way in almost every single one of these. They're shooting almost 40% on the season, and there's only a few teams doing that, along with Dayton, Purdue, and Kentucky. That's actually why I have Kentucky too, going pretty far. They're shooting almost about 41% from 3 this year.
Yeah, I'm so in between with Kentucky. I either have them losing first round to Oakland or have them going to Final Four. There's no in between for me.
They have a lot of
They do. They do.
Another team, Drake. Watch out for
Drake.
Drake. They get to play Pac-12 team first round, and then they got Iowa State second round, which that'll be interesting to see if Iowa State can make their buckets and against Drake.
They're a hot team too.
I was just looking at Drake's roster. They don't have a lot of size, which will be tough. Cinderella, I got BYU. If you can
BYU,
consider
the
them as a
sixth
sixth seed, I got them to the Elite Eight.
Okay.
That's the furthest I've got a Cinderella team going.
Hayden, is it true or false you are currently enrolled in BYU?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
All right.
Now, but look, if BYU gets hot, which I think they could. I think they could get
They've got
very hot.
shooters. You never know with a shooting team
and
like
you'll-
BYU.
Because BYU is a tough team to prep against.
So you have BYU beating Illinois.
Mm-hmm. And then I got them
Terrence
beating Drake.
Shannon. Man, okay. All right.
Look, I
And
think they get hot.
they beat Illinois. Then you have them matching up with Drake because, as you said before, Drake beats Iowa State, and then BYU beats Drake.
Mhm.
And then, okay,
Matches up against
Elite
UConn.
Eight.
It looks wrong. But I'm taking it.
So I actually have BYU,
Elite Eight as
Elite
well.
Eight.
Okay, all right.
and
These guys.
that's because I have Morehead
So
State.
we gotta
beating
have
Illinois
faith.
First round.
We gotta have faith in our
I don't think
in our
BYU is
school.
going to beat Illinois if Illinois comes out, but I have Morehead State beating them.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
The upset there.
yeah, I don't think BYU can beat UConn, but if some way Auburn can beat UConn or San Diego State, whoever plays them, I think BYU could actually
Could
take
be
that.
one of those.
Definitely San Diego State. We kicked their butts earlier this season. My final four, I got UConn, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
So 2 1s, a 2, and a 3. Not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, I think Kentucky is going to be the team to beat this tournament, but I think North Carolina is going to take it all the way.
Kentucky's the team to beat, but North Carolina wins. Why?
On that side, yeah. North Carolina,
Yeah. What gives you the edge for North Carolina over Kentucky?
the history of North Carolina, straight up, just the history. They've always been really good in March Madness, no matter what they're ranked, really. And when
Most
they're
of the
ranked
time,
high,
yeah.
they play really well.
Kentucky's got that history too.
Exactly.
Rick Pitino.
Blue Bloods.
So, and they got Rob Dillingham, Reed Shepard. That's
Coming off the bench. Both of those guys coming off the bench.
Which, yeah, I mean,
It's crazy.
they're their best players, but yeah.
Yes. We have
But
best prospects for sure.
UConn's got a tough. It's tough.
I really don't think so.
They got to get past FAU, and we know FAU's had downs this year, but they've got
A lot.
experience all the way to the Final Four last year,
That's right.
and they beat some tough teams.
They did. They
I
did.
think Auburn will be tough.
Although they did get to play FDU second round instead of Purdue.
That's true
I'll
as
give you
well.
that.
Yeah. No, that's true.
But they almost be saying they lost. They were a buzzer beater away from not going in from being in the championship game.
And so there's a lot of things to look at, a lot of intake. I don't know a ton, so I appreciate you guys helping me out. I do just have one question, and I'm glad you hit on it a little bit here with the FAU. Northwestern, one of the big Power 5 schools to never win a March Madness game.
What?
Are you
don't-
kidding me,
You don't think they'll get it done this year?
man?
Never
I-
won it.
I don't think they do it,
Dang.
dude. FAU's got a 7-footer. You know,
They have
he's
a
a
good
good
team.
guy. He's
We
a good
know.
player. I couldn't tell
I
you his
feel like
name.
the storyline is just too strong. Northwestern has to win it.
I have them losing into every single bracket, so I'm going to have to change that. Hey, I mean, if you're playing for your first win ever,
Hey,
Right.
that's
if-
a chip on your shoulder
and,
right
if, and
there.
if you look at all
Huge.
the 9 seeds to ever play versus an 8 seed, the 9 seeds actually have the advantage.
I believe that. Actually.
We
Yeah.
down and out, boy. But we gonna
the
rise
video,
above.
man. Come on.
Make sure to subscribe
love, baby.
and like and comment and share.
Like the video.
Help my
man.
boy out.
That's it.